I can go through my normal, are you ready for me? Go ahead.
Come on.
Sure.
Get us started.
All right, happy to do that. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, welcome.
For those of you who don't know me, my name is Ashley Hutchison, and I am the Director of Community and Economic Development for South Central Alabama Development Commission. I'm here tonight representing Pike County Commission. This is an informal closeout hearing to discuss the county's intent to close out CDBG project number CYCMPF 20-007, also known as Road and Water Improvements for County Road 7749 and County Road 2256. If you will recall, the county received $350,000 from the CDBG County Competitive Fund while committing $267,000 of cash and in-kind services to complete the project. Construction was completed in October of 2022. So the next step is the closeout public hearing. It is a requirement for the CDBG program. This will allow the county commission to be eligible to apply for funds this upcoming spring if they choose to do so. So the purpose of tonight's hearing is to solicit the public's comments, offer up any questions, concerns you have for the county during the implementation of the CDBG project. That includes all activities from the private contractor, the project administrator, which is me, the road department, which is the engineer on the project, and any other community development needs that you feel should be discussed at this time. This is what we use for our needs assessment for building the next application, and this is your opportunity to tell us what is needed in the community. So at this time, I will turn it over to you. If you have any questions, anything you'd like to ask, questions about the next cycle, I'm happy to answer those.
Did you say the next cycle open?
It'll open in the spring. We do not have a deadline yet. We still are waiting on ADECA to announce when the CDBG public hearing will be scheduled. It is typically held in February. The workshop follows soon after, and then we have an 8-week turnaround to submit applications. So just to give you a time frame, last year for 2022, they were submitted July the 18th. And I would like to point out that last year, with prices the way they are and cost increases, ADECA did increase the grant ceiling for counties to $500,000. I imagine that would stay, it was $400 the year before. Still with a 10% match for counties.
Anything else on this? Thank you very much.
Of course.
Engineer. Good evening. Good evening. We have a couple of items on the new business. We don't have anything for you tonight on those. We're going to move down to current business and address those at the next meeting. So under current business, the main thing we have tonight is the 2023 resurfacing contracts. So we should all have a memo from us by now. We did open bids on those last week. And, like it says there, even after using the most recent cost data we had and adding some to it, we were still ended up being over a little over $750,000, between the cost estimates and the low bids. So we've discussed it with McKinsey, and the funds are there available to do these if you so choose to go ahead and award them. But then any extra amount there would have to come off of your program for next year. So that would just leave you with some decisions to make about next year's projects. And I did put a copy of the 2-year program list that we approved is on the back, so you can see the roads there that are going to get resurfaced this year and the ones we have planned for next year. Anybody got any questions on that? Go ahead. Okay. Well, that's pretty much it. We really didn't have anything to report on the planning jurisdiction changes. Really just kind of working with the county attorney to make sure that needs to be done.
Let me put a bug in y'all's ear. Not something we got to do, but as we're that change and some other things that have been going on, some constituent calls about different things that are going on in and around. Some of them are close to town where this affects someone. I think I brought up last year, us taking a look at our subdivision regulations and kind of going through them. Might be a good time with this going on, to take a look at them. I'd actually had a pretty good conversation with Melissa with the city too, kind of manages some of their stuff, about some of the differences, some of the changes they were putting in. And just put a group together. It doesn't have to be all of us. We may want to, put some outside thought in it too, some property owners, some of the people that this affects, in different scenarios, to look over our subdivision regulations to see if there's some changes that we need to make, or if we're satisfied with. Because a lot of the development that falls into this area, we're going to end up maintaining. I had somebody email me some development thoughts on dirt roads and sent me some stuff out of Geneva County that was like stuff, which is encouraging. All that's encouraging, the growth continues, but that's our only means of trying to make sure we're managing our ingress and egress and how we can protect people as they're buying these lots or properties or whatever. So y'all think about that. Mackenzie, if you put it just under commissioner questions next time, so we remember to think about how and if we even want to do that.
Anything else for the engineer?
I do. There's already no other questions. Our issue in Shellhorn with the railroad contractor, what can we do we need to do today before if that's a 10 or 11 month project, so that when they are done and that road is finished being degraded, what exactly were you told the other day? I know you texted me some stuff that y'all met with the railroad, or that spoke to the railroad, or met with the contractor doing the work.
Contract.
And their comment was they intended on resurfacing that stretch of the road, or?
Yeah, they had already, in their planning, there's only two ways in there, as far as public roads, is the dirt road and the little paved road. So they knew if it got too wet, they may have to use the paved road. And so they had actually already looked at it and taken some video of it, just to document the condition that it was in before. So they were, I think, expecting, we were not aware they were going to use that route. They didn't talk to us, but they were expecting to have to use that possibly, and anticipating that, any damage they did would have to be repaired by then. That's what we were told.
I wish when we get a regular meeting, I don't want it to go 11 months and then somebody forget, act like the conversation last week was not had, because I went down the same day I asked you to, and met with all those homeowners, maybe an hour and a half after you texted me, and I told them, hey, we're monitoring this, the engineer spoke with them, here's what they're saying, and I don't want it to get gutted, and then in 10 months, we don't have somebody to talk to and handle it right way. As much rock as they put down, they could have put a few loads on that county dirt road, and all every bit of it down that county dirt road, and I said that no honesty. Because I want us to stay on top of that. I told the Kings that it wanted to be November and this be a big issue, and everybody forget that, How do you think we proceed with that?
I think you and I should talk to the county attorney, get his recommendation on what we can do to get ahead of that legally.
Because here we are talking about needing to cut something out of next year's budget. We don't need another problem that wasn't ours to do, adding to something you don't need. Also on 1128 in Mr. Palmer's district, just on the other side of the creek, there's a house that burned. You seen that lady? It's around 2131, leaves the between Bend Creek and
road again?
1128 Kelly Road.
A house that burned?
Yeah. There's a bunch of furniture in the right of way road. It's been there, I mean, and nothing's been done. I've talked to, Greg, Mr. Walker, downstairs, Glenn, can y'all get the scout truck and pick that furniture up? It's just laying literally on the side of the white line right there.
In the street like that hasn't?
Yeah, please.
Okay.
It's unmistakable.
All right. Can't miss it.
Yeah,
Good.
and if anybody does, just tell them to call me out.
Okay.
For sure.
We'll just work around
Appreciate it.
it. Anybody else? Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Anybody? Mr. Earl?
Well, we had a 1-week break, but tomorrow night it's not on the agenda. We're expecting severe weather again tomorrow night. So for us, it'll be a 4 a.m. to 7 a.m. timeline. But we'll send out an updated forecast tomorrow once we get one from the national legislature. Just be prepared for severe weather again. One item I do have on the agenda is the local emergency planning committee. I'm going to need a representative from the commission to serve on that. It can be one of the commissioners or it can be the administrator, whoever you so choose. But I do need a follow on that. It doesn't have to happen tonight. We can suspend the rules if you wish, but if not, we can take it up the next meeting.
Okay.
All right?
Thank you. You want to keep on?
I want to give you an update on two things, on our public map and Nixon, in just a second. Our public map is live on our website now. If you go, it's in our navigation at the top of the website now. It just says public map, you can click on it. You get access to everything about roads, address points, our emergency service numbers, which includes fire, law, EMS, who responds to an area. We've got the voting districts and precincts up there for the county, and we're working with the city of Brundage to get theirs up, and then the city of Troy hasn't started on theirs yet, but we'll get started working with them to get that up there as well. We've got fire hydrants, structures over 500 square feet, and I think I want to say there's a layer in there too, just for a little extra data, but that's going to be an ongoing thing that we can add to as we get additional information. We can throw in there pretty quickly, and so that's viewable on mobile devices now. You can take screenshots, you can move around, interact with it, and get all kinds of good information out of it.
Still, you can click on the house and get all the,
Yes.
where I vote, who responds about a fire,
Yes.
emergency.
So where you vote, I think, so I'm getting help with that to push that down to the individual address points still, but you can see the polygon around here to tell you where to go, but we're still pushing that, and that shouldn't be too difficult. But that is one of our next steps on there. For Nixle, we've got access to the system now. It took us a little longer than I expected with Christmas break for them, but we're in there, we're starting to play with it, and we're looking at bringing in public employees and public groups to start interacting with that as well. So we're talking to different folks about getting set up there and start to mess around with that so we can be familiar with it before we go live to the public.
Well,
That's it.
anybody got any questions? Thank you.
All right, thanks.
Does any commissioner have a report this time?
I guess we talked about, what's the name, or business, we talked about the voting center.
Yeah. Sorry, I forgot something.
Yeah, I was fixing, sorry, I was just fixing to ask you about that, about the reappointment.
I was thinking about stuff I'm working on. So we missed that there was 2 expirations on our board. Michael Stevens from Troy Fire and Randall Barr from Troy Police both expired at the end of the year. They continue to serve on that until replaced or reappointed by the commission. that's entirely up to you.
But it's okay with the commission, I'd like to reappoint those two.
They should be on that more anyway, because.
Last Thursday, we had to elect the officers, and Buford Stevens is our president, Randall Barr, Chief Barr is the vice president, and Sam Green is the chair treasurer.
So just clarification, I know this is not in the statute, but historically, the Troy Police and Troy Fire have been represented by the chief, and that's those two seats.
That's right.
So unless we're going to break that. I mean, I agree. Unless we're going to break that. Precedent, I think I do that, but I think.
Way to go.
Well, that's what I was saying, that's what I would recommend if y'all want to change it.
It's just precedent, it's up to y'all, but it is up to y'all.
Okay.
However you want to do that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No, I was just going to say, we have made a lot of progress on the voting center in District 4 and 6, not to the point of the presentation. There's 2 more contacts got to be made. But we'll, should have Alan something to start working on our local legislation next week.
Only other thing I'd remind us about is February the 9th is our southeast region is hosted here this time at the studio, right? At the studio, and it'll start at 6 o'clock if I'm not mistaken.
And y'all are all registered.
And we're all in February the 9th. That's a Thursday night. And I guess if nothing else,
I have something.
go ahead here.
Okay, I know this is something that we've addressed before, and I know we're still working on it, but just driving throughout the district, and I'm sure all the other commissioners do it also, it's this problem with this litter that's bothering me. Everywhere I go, look like people are emptying their houses on the side of the road. And I'm just using taking pictures. I'm like, this is crazy. And I know that we're going to have to continue to work on this. I don't know what else we need to do, but I know we need to do something else, because obviously, I'm not saying it's all our citizens, but someone is not getting the message that there are places that they can put the garbage rather than on the side of the road. And I'm seeing it more and more every day.
Continue to fight as we have fought, and we'll continue to fight.
Just on that point, I actually sent our engineer an email this week to refresh my mind on the amount of garbage we picked up because of somebody that called me about a problem. And what Russell told me is we still were averaging 7 tons a month of garbage that we picked up. With about a $55,000 budget to do that. But now think about it. So you're right. If you go out there today and you look, they're still picking up 7 tons of garbage a month. And I'm not sure. The only thing we haven't done as a body, we don't have enforcement rights.
I know.
But
If we're going to do local legislation, why don't we go on and start now, where when the general election comes, why don't we just ask for it to be on the ballot this next time? That we ask for a raise in the fine, and us the authority to implement a fine and oversee and we talked about that. That's the only thing we have been able to do. We need to be, people need to get written tickets, and 100% of that ticket is going to go to continuing and growing the litter program.
an idea on that may be to ask for home rule when it comes to litter.
That's what I was.
And leave that a little open so we have opportunity to work law enforcement on how that we can make that stick, make some of those tickets stick, because that was a problem too. But that may be to get out and to try to drive something.
And I think when you've had 7 tons a month, the trash we picked up for the past 2.5 years, and it still hasn't let up, that is a pretty good get back history of where we need that.
That's kind of been the hang up before in the past, so Mr. Sullivan, you know, is what the home rule.
And,
They didn't want to vote for us to have home rule.
and maybe if in that limited capacity, we can get a little more traction. If we go about it at a statute level, anytime that something's got to be changed, we got to go back and have a statute change. So if we can get traction on that one item to get some more rule on, then when things change or as other laws change, and we can tweak our resolutions to make them more enforceable. Just a thought, we need to definitely let Alan research that.
I'm not saying that, the engineer, they're not doing their job, I'm not saying that, I'm just saying that with all that we're doing, obviously, we're gonna have to do something else, because it's just ridiculous as to what I'm saying inside the road.
Thank you.
I got something.
So
We
it
got
is.
to speak with all of Pike County. The water authority wanted to send their bank account and all that stuff into them. So I guess I had to go up on the price. There's one guy already done brought it, went to the bank and got all this bank statements and stuff and go send it to them. And so we got to do something that's try to, then they gonna get mad and don't wanna pick up the garbage, you know, but these folks around here just still let it, ends meet.
You talking about the solid waste, not water?
Yeah, that's what, what did I say? You said what? I got this stuff. You all right?
We understood what you meant. To your point, I thought about this too, I got a call this week too, and I was gonna pull the contract we had. In our contract, they're allowed to go up a certain percentage each year without coming to us. And I think they hadn't gone up like 6 years or 5 years, if I remember right. They went up last year, they've gone up this year. Will you get us a report on that, please? So at least we know how to answer those questions.
They just recently went up.
So I think the last 2 years they've gone up.
It's got a percent price index.
And the Homer point, what they're asking for is for the ones that are Social Security exempt. They want them to prove that they're exempt. Because some of them, they don't think off. And I get that. I don't put on to my bank station either, I don't have to. But anyway, yeah. All right. Anything else? Let's move on.
You know, they sent you up and told us what all we should do, try to, some people are there. In 3 weeks, and they got it, yeah. And so, we had one that, somebody ran over the garbage can and called them. They would have one that day. And the last time I talked to her, she ain't got one there.
They call them,
Let's move on with the administrative report.
The first item I have is the internet service contracts for the judicial complex and jail. There's a copy of the rates, and these will be 36-month contracts. I do ask that we go ahead and suspend the rules and vote on this tonight. They're needing some of the information like IP addresses and such as that to be able to set up alarm systems at the complex. So we've got to have the service in place and able to get those things so that they can set the equipment up before they'll send it so it can be installed. But those rates, I mean, they're comparable with what we pay for our other buildings now, so I would say go ahead and do that. The next item is going to be an updated drug and alcohol policy. This is something that has to do, actually, I'm going to let Jordan tell y'all why. This has to do with our safety program, but also has to do with legislation, I believe, you correct me if I'm wrong, legislation on medical marijuana that's gone into effect. They've got to have a way Right now, you just absolutely can't have it in your system according to our policy. We're going to have to make adjustments for prescription use. Is that right? Okay.
Because the law passed on January 1st of '23, so
So it's been
it's
suggested.
updated according to the law.
Okay.
And essentially, I think it's just where it's treated like the prescriptions, they have to provide a prescription for it. If they were to test positive for it, just like any other drug that might be in the system, they've got to prove that prescription for it.
Okay.
The next item is HVAC controls with Train. This is just an annual contract that we have for the control systems that are in place at this building and at the courthouse. This is also something that will come into play once we open up our judicial and jail complex. It's just a system, it's what's helped us save probably about $40,000 a year in cost for electricity and gas at the building. So there was a price increase. It was maybe about $300 or $400 increase over last year. The next item is there's a budget revision request from the Sheriff's Department. The Sheriff's Department has gotten in a check for $15,600. They were holding a vehicle that was a stolen vehicle. They've been storing it for, I guess, a little over 2 years now, and trying to get the insurance company to come and get it. They filed for abandonment of the vehicle because it was a very nice, like very low mileage, newer vehicle. Once they did that, the insurance company decided that they did want to come pick it up, but they were able to charge a fee for holding it. And so the fee ended up being $15,600. The sheriff though has asked that could he please have that additional money in his uniform budget. So essentially that's what he's asking, since we don't have that revenue, can he have that line item increased in his uniform budget? To get that revision.
15,000.
That's all under the administrative report. Under current business, the Pike County Jail, the janitorial service RFP, I finally got something together on that. But I put a copy of it in front of all of you. I would like to request that we go ahead and put that out for request for proposals, because this will take a little time. We'll have to go out and meet with the prospective bidders out of that, so they can do a walkthrough and all of the building and get them time, and we can get something in place, hopefully before a hopeful opening date of maybe beginning of April. So, sometime in there. Courthouse renovation, I know you see where we did have the courthouse TCU and JMR scheduled to come tonight. They got some numbers back a little bit late, probably I think it was sometime Friday before they got them. And TCU asked that we put this off until the next meeting. It'll be the 65% schematic design approval. There's been no notable changes to the drawings that y'all are giving at 35%. There is one small change with how the executive session room is set up in the commission chambers by it, because of codes for ingress and, how do you say this? There you go, think of that. Ingress and egress in the commission chamber room. They've had to adjust how the room is set up. It's turning it sideways essentially is what it's doing, because you've got to have enough doors for that room. Nothing big, but they do want to review all the prices, because this includes a lot of the mechanical, that kind of cost and everything in it before they come and present it. So they'll be here at the next meeting to do that. The next item that we want to look at tonight is going to be up under voting center changes, the Dunn's Voting Center name change. You all have a copy of the resolution for that to go through. I think everything's good to go on that, so we can take action if y'all so choose on that tonight.
Again, on the list.
Security services, I have reached out to GSI that holds our current contract right again. Their legal department has not been able to get the agreement sent over to us, but hopefully we're going to get that in the next few days.
McKinney, did you talk to Mr. Schreiber about
He
this?
was supposed to call me and I have not heard from him.
I was just wondering because they mentioned it to me.
Yes. I had not heard from him. He had said he'd call and I haven't heard from him yet. See, like Russell was talking about on the resurfacing project, there is the funds there that we would do some transferring over with that we were planning on for the next year that can cover that overage. I did tell him that would be something y'all definitely have to look at for changes next year, I guess, to the second part of the plan. I don't know what we'll do Those funds were pretty tight and set on those monies that were set aside to do those 2 years worth of roads. So that is something y'all need to consider with the engineering office. We could go ahead and cover the overages for this year, but that definitely will cut funds available for next year. The last item for me will be the telephone bid change order. There is a change order in there from where we sent out the telephone bid. It's about probably around $10,000 more than what the original bid was on that. I had to do some talking to auditors to make sure that we can do change orders on bids, because that's just kind of a little bit of a weird situation. But because of the extenuating circumstances for the bid change, what happened when they came and did the bid and we did a walkthrough with this company that got it, there's 2 extra communication rooms within the judicial building that we did not realize were there when we walked through the first time, and they've got to have some switches in there. And so we're going to need to approve this increase because they've got to have switches in those rooms in order to make the phones work. And we just have to document that within our minutes for why we're going there. They've already started work, they've already ordered some equipment for the project that we approved. So,
One-time charge.
yes. Yeah, it's literally, I think it's 2 switches that they're having to add to the original price that they gave us. It went from like 81,000 to 90,000. And we've changed, we've had the bid changed. And I think that's all I have.
Anybody got any questions?
And on item number 8, I'm gonna want to proceed with.
Okay.
I think one other thing that we had talked about was the board appointment for Herb's,
So level.
the local planning committee. Mackenzie and I had talked, and she has agreed to do that. Most of the meetings, I'm guessing, will be daytime,
Yes.
and quarterly maybe.
Quarterly meetings, first one's going to be February 14th.
Okay, and she has agreed to do so as part of her daily routine.
Remind us to make that the board do.
It's got, a lot of first responders. It's got, Dave's on there, will be on there, planning committee. You've got, we're asking for citizens from Pike County, Troy, and all the other smaller communities. Mayors of all the small towns, Goshen, Banks, Mudge, Troy. It's got, folks from industry. It's got, CSX, I'm just trying to go through the whole list of people that are on there, nursing homes, hospitals.
Yes, that's good.
It's just a cross section of anybody or any area that we may have some type of emergency, just to develop and upgrade our emergency plan.
Anybody else or anything else? Thank you, Mackenzie. Good evening, Alan. You got anything for us today?
No report, Mike.
Okay. Thank you. The Pike County Commission public hearing and work session will now come to a close. We'll reconvene in about 10 minutes at 6 p.m. for our regular meeting.